Okay, I think we'll get started. So I just want to welcome everyone here today. And Rochelle, maybe just watch the chat. And as new people come in, they might need the links or things like that. So, all right. So welcome. And I want to introduce myself first of all, and then I'll let my colleagues introduce themselves. So my name is Sharon Skretting. I'm really thrilled to be here this afternoon with you, talking about smarter questions for stronger classrooms with regards to AI. And my background is 25 years in the classroom, and then I was an instructional coach for many years, and then I rounded up my career as an administrator, as a principal here down in Horizon School Division. So, an Alberta girl all the way here. And with that, I'll let Rochelle introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rochelle Marinowski, and I'm a current faculty member at the University of Lethbridge in the Faculty of Education. My areas of research are mathematics, teaching and learning, classroom assessment practices, and teacher professional growth and development. Also an Alberta girl from Southern Alberta here from Picture Butte.
Which is a segue, yeah. Dan Vanendingen, I am the principal of St. Catherine's School in Picture Butte, originally from Vauxhall, Alberta, but I live in Lethbridge now. And yeah, I have been a principal for a little over a decade. I did my master's in inclusive education and neuroscience at the University of Lethbridge, and so that's a little bit of a passion in that area, but also working, on AI and ways that teachers can use that to improve their practice and to make the teaching profession a little bit manageable.
Yeah, manageable. At the same time, a high level of professional practice, right? So that's our goal. Is we want to help teachers be really great teachers while they use AI. And so, this topic of AI literacy is really on the forefront right now. And so we want to help with what we know. And so today is about really, every week there's like a new tool with a new promise. And, we want to equip you as leaders in education to be able to ask really good questions and lead your staff in asking really good questions about the literacy, the AI tools that they're doing, so that they, as we move down that path toward AI literacy. All right, so here are some questions that we might want to start by thinking about. So how do we know that AI is supporting best practice? That's got to be top of mind today for us. How do we keep teacher input central? And how do we evaluate AI tools with regards to instruction, assessment, and inclusion, and have that as the top of mind? Now, that's not to say that there aren't a lot of other questions with AI, like there are. Security, all of those things. But today we're really going to focus in on the pedagogical thing and how you lead your teachers to really think about the AI tools that they're using. All right. So first we want to talk about there's two processes that teachers really work with. When they're working with AI, they're going to go through one of two processes. Okay. One of them would be very similar to here, like ChatGPT, where they're going to give a prompt, and it's a conversational type of process. It's a back and forth with the AI and the teacher, and then you finally arrive at the outputs that you want. So what does that demand? And that's what I want you to think about. What does that demand? And then there's a process that are in more AI dedicated tools that are just more education dedicated, because this is a general thing. Anybody can use it, right? It could be for business, it could be for marketing, it could be for anything. It's not really dedicated for education, although it gives you educational outputs. But when we talk about other tools like Teacher Time Machine or Magic School or Brisk Teaching or any of those dedicated educational tools, they're going to ask for more education kind of inputs from the teacher. Okay. And so we want to think about that process. What is it? So I'd like you to think about that and take 1 minute. I want you to like grab a piece of paper, put 2 columns on that piece of paper. And on one side, I want you to put conversational. The other side, I want you to put structured. And I want you to think about, okay, what are the pros and cons of each one? Just jot down your thoughts before we actually dive in. Get our wheels turning. Okay, I'll give you 1 minute to just kind of do that. Okay, got some ideas. Now I'd like you to either come off, like we really want to have a discussion here today. So we really invite your input. So I do thank you for having your cameras on and being with us and being present, first of all. So come off on microphone or drop in the chat, and Rochelle's going to monitor the chat and she'll kind of read out loud some things, so don't give her a personal note there. But write in your thoughts. What are some of the pros and the cons? Well, I invite your thoughts. What do you think?
One thought I had was that, the conversational one might be something that is a starting point for people if they aren't maybe that experienced, that it seems more user friendly, maybe a little less intimidating. Maybe I'm not as familiar with outcomes. I can just kind of rely on it to be my guide versus maybe having that critical teacher lens, looking at how the outcomes align to maybe what the AI is generating.
Okay. Thank you, Scott.
Okay, Mark also has his mic off, which makes me think he would like to say something.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the way you've set it up there, in a sense, they're inverses of each other, right? I think the conversational one perhaps has a lower bar to entry. You just jump in and you've got something right away. The structured type would present as being more work or having more friction. But on the other hand, it's unlikely to leave out key aspects. The conversational side, depending where the shiny object leads you, you can take time or forget things or doesn't necessarily converge right away. One more positive there, it depending on how the structured one is set up, conversational may allow more creative responses or unplanned use cases.
Okay. Thanks, Mark.
Hans, you've got your hand up.
Hi there. My bias is towards structured, just because I think the term is prompt engineering, but to avoid some biases in how you come to whatever end product that you're looking for, I think structured seems more thoughtful, seems more intentional, and if you follow there's some mnemonics out there around how to structure prompts, but it strikes me that it's more likely to come up with a complete answer or at least an answer that you can work through. If a conversational one is harder to ensure that you're not getting biased. That's just a thought.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you.
Excellent. Okay. Anyone else?
I'm just going to add to what Hans said, because that matches my experience, having had done both. That is, and actually it's interesting because it seems like it's going to be more work to do the structured approach. But sometimes when I'm sitting there in front of that blinking cursor on a chat, I'm like, oh, I'm not actually sure what to, like, sometimes just a drop-down menu gives me an idea of where to start and where to go. It looks like it's more work, but actually I can get through it quicker, because you really do have to think about when you're trying to structure a prompt to get a specific result. If I want an open-ended result, like, hey, just give me 3 ideas for blank, a chat is great, and it gives me those 3 ideas really quick. But if I want something specific, like a lesson or like a assessment, there's a set of structured things that I need to think about and I need to put into that prompt, and that can be hard to do well unless you're really familiar with it and practiced.
Yeah.
Katie kind of had her hand up there for a second. So did you want to speak, Katie?
Sure. Hi, Rochelle. Yeah, I was just kind of what was already said, but I appreciate the specificity of the structured model. And I think that for teachers, it also provides a really great guideline, and also can remind them sometimes, I think, or to any of us that are using it, about some of the pieces that could easily be forgotten in crafting something like a lesson plan. Sort of, a really good structured model will hopefully prompt you for things like differentiation and all those pieces that can sometimes easily get lost when you're just using conversational model.
Thank you. Yeah, and that really becomes the question, right? And as leaders in our TQS who want to, how do we ensure that quality teaching while also allowing teachers to have that professional judgment? So it's a balance, isn't it? So we really want to kind of think about that as we move forward here today. So we've got those 2 things in mind: the structured, we get consistency, we can get alignment if the model that you're using has the outcomes embedded. If not, you need to really check them and go and get them and make sure that teachers are putting them in. It does have some of those like prompt in the background, like Hans mentioned. The guardrails are kind of on because it's more educationally dedicated, right? And the teacher prompts can really, like, it prompts the teacher. It's making the teacher think about the things that maybe in the conversational mode, it's not there. The conversational on the other side, though, has flexibility. It does really have teacher voice because it's back and forth, but it does very much depend on the experience of the teacher, I want to say, because if the teacher is less experienced, then they're more likely to get less of a great result, I guess, out of the tool, right? But it does allow for some context to there. So there are pros and cons to both. We just really need to think about that. And then we think about this question, and it's just a question for reflection. We don't need to come out with what our answer is, but thinking about which model would you want your teachers to start with and why. Okay, so that leads us into, we're going to lead into an activity here about actually going and checking out some tools today. And if we look at this, the process, just a brief look here, there are a variety of tools that we want you to explore today. And, this one is ChatGPT. Of course, I didn't actually put that on the list in the audit tool that we're going to give you, but I think everybody knows about it. So you can certainly add it to your list. But you're going to see in Microsoft Copilot or Gemini, if you use Google Gemini, they're very much going to be like this. You're going to get a page that's just asking you for an input, and it's going to take you through that that conversation style. And then you'll get things like Magic School, which will ask you for a few inputs. Or then you have the other extreme, I guess, is the teacher time machine, is asking the teacher to put a lot of input in. And so what we would like you to do is we're going to start to think about those two processes as you go through. And you have access here if you just want to take that QR code will lead you to an actual audit tool. So I'm going to give you a minute to go and get that.
And Rochelle,
And Rochelle, if you could drop the link to that in the chat too, just in case people don't have a phone or they want to access it on their computer, that's fine too. So some key questions to keep in mind as we go through this process today is, does the teacher prepare to teach the lesson through the process? So whatever tool you're exploring today, think about that. Is the process itself preparing the teacher to actually teach the lesson? Okay. Then, can the teacher add or customize supports? And does the teacher choose how they will gather evidence of learning in that process? And we could add that other one too about inclusion. Do they add support? Well, that is in there, I guess. Supports. Okay. So the tool itself looks like this. Just a couple of things about it. These are editable, these boxes. If Sharon did it right, they are editable. You can change it. So if you don't have Copilot, you don't have to do Copilot. If you want to do something different, go ahead. If you want to do Curipod instead, I don't care which tools you choose. And then these will be a drop down 1, 2, 3, 4. And at the bottom, we have the food for thought, and we've got some criteria pieces here. Okay, and then on the next page, I've given you the links to the tools. Okay, and the planning questions are there. Okay, following that, there is, for this section of just planning, we're just doing the planning part right now. There's kind of the criteria here. So clarity of purpose. We've given you 1, 2, 3, 4, just kind of as a guide, right? So that it helps you to fill that in. Okay, and then here's the criteria. So both Rochelle and I are assessment people. So, are you surprised that we're giving you a rubric? All right. So with that in mind, I'd like you to go and take about 10 minutes or so and explore probably 1 or 2 of the tools at least. Try to get through 1 or 2 of the tools. We're just trying to get you started on this and then have you go away with a tool that you could actually work with your staff, or, we can come in and work with your staff or whatever, right? Like, it gives you the tools to work with your staff on this. So I'd like you to go try a couple of the different tools that are out there and use the criteria and the questions to guide your exploration. Any questions?
Just a note, if you open up the document in Adobe, that's where they're editable. If you're on the online view, they're not editable.
Right. You
So
have
need
to probably
download the
it.
document.
Yeah. You'd have to download it to get that functionality.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So let's take 10 minutes. We got to be really kind of finite with our time here. 10 minutes, go explore, and then I'd like you to come back in 10 minutes. I'll call you back, and then be ready to share what you found out. Okay? Good. All right. Happy exploring. All right, I invite your thoughts. So going back to these questions again, what are your thoughts? First of all, what was this process like for you? And what did you find out? What are your reflections?
I can go first.
Yeah.
I tried brisk teaching. So it took me a little bit to get in it because I had to download the extension. And at first I thought, oh, this is kind of cool. It appears to do a whole heck of a lot. But I found out pretty quick looking at your rubric and your criteria, it really did do a lot of the work for the teacher and perhaps didn't coach them through the steps of crafting their own lesson the way that I maybe expected it to. It was still a really cool, I would say, it crafted for me, and I put my input in for a debate lesson, which was still, it would have been a fun little activity for a grade 4 student to do, but I didn't score it very high on the rubric in terms of the preparation for teaching, the customization, and some of that might be that I just don't understand the tool very well myself yet. But it did definitely create the entire lesson for me before I really kind of had a chance to tell it what I wanted it to do, if that makes sense. So one interesting piece though is that it does integrate, like you can have it work with your students, and I wasn't aware of that. So I don't know if we have teachers in our division using it or not, but I very quickly was able to take on the role of a student, which possibly actually would be valuable as a teacher to put yourself in that role and test the lesson out. So we'll guess maybe in that way I could say maybe I should score it a little higher, but yeah, lots of cool little things I hadn't considered in there, but in terms of, giving the teacher a lot of voice, maybe not as high as I was expecting it to be.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? What are your thoughts?
Well, I tried to do a math lesson, of course, for grade 9 circle geometry because that's a thing. And it was not useful in definitely, I went with Gemini, and I asked it to create me an image so it gave me some terms and it gave me some information and said, well, create an image that has that information on it. And the image is all wrong. And I need to know what's correct and not correct on that image. Like things are labeled that aren't right. And it's mostly gobbledygook. So if I didn't know that was gobbledygook or didn't pay enough attention, I would be really frustrated. And my students would be really frustrated if I took that in front of a class and went, oh yeah, that's not actually anything on there. So that's a little terrifying.
Thanks, Rochelle. Anyone else?
I tried both Microsoft Copilot and Gemini, and they used the exact same prompt because they were both chat-based. Just wanted to compare, and I got really similar lessons. Like I know they're different platforms with different, algorithms in the background, but I got really similar. Very much I do, we do, you do kind of a straightforward and some interesting ideas, but it was, yeah, I wouldn't rate it high on in terms of the teacher input. You could, but I asked for a few things like the inclusion, and I asked for some formative assessment, and it is really generic, but I didn't put a really long prompt. So
okay, excellent. Mark, you're nodding your head. Do you have some input there?
Yeah, I fiddled around with a couple. I mean, the Bio 30 reproductive hormones is just what I tossed in there to play around with. And like the teacher's time machine, obviously I almost found the prompts more helpful than the responses. Just as, this is something I need to be thinking about as a teacher, but I would come up with a better answer than the AI did. And it's a bit like the lesson plan it gives. If any of my teachers actually gave that to me, it would be a dead giveaway because you haven't written a lesson plan with all of that actually written down since you were in Ed 2500.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, it's the prompts are more helpful than the outputs in the structured one, I find.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, so let's go on to assessment now, and we want to think about these areas. So first of all, again, with backward design, we're always thinking about alignment with our standards or our outcomes first. So is it aligned to those standards? So whether we're lesson planning or we're generating resources or whatever, they really should be aligned to those outcomes. Then are the questions that we're asking, do we know where that question sits in terms of depth of knowledge? And because then that adds clarity. And then the output, is it well structured and usable? So I know there are a variety of kinds of assessments, performance tasks and what not. There's all kinds of formative ways to assess. But today we're going to take a look at more of the test kind of creation, just because that way it's easier for us to really think about these things. And, the quiz generators online right now are so many of them, and teachers are using them all the time. And so this is a good way to evaluate that. So let's take a look at our tool again. We're going to move on. And what we're going to do a little bit this time is we'd like to do some breakouts. So I'm going to make those for us right now, aren't I? So I'd like you to just, Rochelle, maybe just go over the questions with them while I'm doing the breakouts.
Absolutely. So when you're taking a look at the AI tools, developing quality questions for an assessment, if you're thinking about an examination, things that you really need to take a look at are, does the teacher able to review, vet, and adapt the questions? Can the teacher have input in the creation of the questions? Is there a specific alignment to the outcomes? Because I'll put in Alberta, grade 9, but is that actually what Alberta grade 9 is? So making sure that's really specific. And that there's a series of depth of questions, not just recall questions, definition questions, low-level questions. Those are easy to generate. It's the high-level depth questions that we really want to get our students thinking about when they're doing an assessment like that. And is there an opportunity for feedback, more so than the grade? What kind of feedback would I get as the teacher after that assessment is crafted as well, or written by the students as well? So is there a depth of knowledge or some sort of taxonomy that you can choose or you can customize? Does it allow teachers to adapt? Is the output well structured and classroom ready? And does it generate assessments that provide feedback and not just the grades?
Okay, so we have these questions here, the instructions, and we would like you to go to that next section of your audit tool. We want to explore the tools as a group this time. So you might want to have one person do one and another person do another tool and so on. So you kind of, spread the work. And then we'd like you to discuss the results as a group and then choose someone to come back and report to the group. So we have, let's say, maybe 5-10 minutes to do this at the most. And if you, I can't get you into the other tools, so I don't know if their assessment part is what it's like, but sorry, if it's paid or not, but ours is. So I wanted to give you this code so you can go in there and you get 3 months free of the pro. And so if you just put that in, you would have to sign up with your payment information though. That's the only thing. I tried to get it so we couldn't do that, but the guys are telling me no, you can't do that. So that will get you into it. And then I would say mark your calendars so that if you don't want to continue on with it after 3 months, so that you don't miss the time that it will renew on you. Okay. And just before we start that, I want to just take a quick look at these processes. So for example, again, it'll take you into Teacher Time Machine. There is a clear process of that curriculum first, then you blueprint, and you're actually choosing your curriculum. When you come in here, you're choosing what your outcome is. That's right there, your specific outcomes and so on. Now I've already done a section for me, and then I chose how many multiple choice, how many at which depth of knowledge for each kind of question. Then I get the questions, then I had to approve the questions, and finally do a final review of the questions. And now I have a download of those questions. So just, that's the process. So it kind of, you can go and get the download, and that would be in your folder, just so you know what's happening there. And then you can look at the final output, and you get all of the rubrics, the test, everything there. Okay. So just wanted to let you know what is in there. That compared to, say, a magic school that I have here, you're going to choose your grade. They're asking you to put that in. It's not necessarily correct if you choose them to generate it, but you can go and get and cut and paste your outcomes, and then you generate. So that's a very different process. So yeah, and then yeah, go ahead and try Gemini and the other ones too, and would love for you to take the time with your group to do these. Okay, so I'm going to open up the rooms, and you know your job. Any questions, guys? Okay, enjoy the exploring. So we're going to wrap up here, but I want you to just think about, yeah, that assessment process. Did it give you that curriculum depth? Does it provide you with a blueprint? Does it give you something in the end that is really, I can go and I actually can work with that in my classroom? And so what were your thoughts, I guess, just before we go, if anyone has some thoughts about that?
Sure, I'll jump in. Obviously, this is the first time I've looked at this tool, so working through, I'll have to practice a little bit, just getting to know the structure of the interface and play with it a little bit more. Certainly, yeah. There's it. I'll just have to. I'm not familiar with it, so I'll have to play around with it to be able to know what everything is. And
Yeah,
what all the sections are.
Yeah. You stay on after I can help you too, and we can set up a time for demo.
Perhaps I can give you. I'll send you my my email.
Yeah,
and then we can set that up after.
Sounds good. Anyone else?
I'll jump in just a little bit more generally.
Yeah.
Our group, we all kind of got stuck in the rabbit hole of trying to log in and create some accounts. And then we found some roadblocks on some of them where, nope, you can't have that because you haven't paid for this. So, but anyway, in saying that, we still had some good conversation. And, you know, the large language models, some of us tried that. And it's just a cautionary tale, you know, when we're having those conversations with teachers, especially our new teachers, about what to look for if that's their choice. You know, and what they want to use and pursue, but it's really bringing to their attention. You know, one of us punched in grade 5 curriculum and it gave the old curriculum. You know, so you just, the prompting is so, so important. And, you know, for me, not being as familiar, I went right to the curriculum because I don't know if it's really touching on everything I need it to, or if it's very surface level. So there's a lot of layers to this.
Yes. Thank you, Lynette. Yes.
And a point that Dan made in the conversation as well is that the danger of the LLMs is that they give you very convincing results confidently, even though they're quite suspect at times.
Yes. Very much. Anyone else before we wrap up?
Know your curriculum.
Yeah.
Know it well, because you still have to vet.
Yes. And that is one of the reasons, like, you know, our platform, we painstakingly put it in so that it's not, it's human vetted. It's, you know, we've made sure it's not just, it's there because we want everything aligned to it, and everything should be aligned to your curriculum. So if you're using another tool, then make sure that you have, like, and make sure as you lead your teachers in this, that they're actually inputting that and not trusting the AI to just do that job, because it doesn't do it very well. And we found out that out because we had to go through this process of actually, no, we're going to put each one into our database, because you want to make sure that that's accurate, right? Okay. So as we go forth today, I know we're out of time, but I want you to think about that same process and leave you with that same process for inclusion. As you think about engagement and instructional variety and planning with everyone in mind, is there vocabulary? Are there vocabulary supports built in? Is there language translation? Are there visuals? Are there floor to ceiling tasks in there? And so on. Does it give you rich visuals? Some of those things. Can it combine curriculum for you? Okay, so those are some of those supports. And does every child really see themselves? Because we've actually ensured that inclusion is part of the planning process and not an afterthought. All right, so I would really invite you to, again, use that tool, take your teachers through this process, and I invite your takeaways from today. Any thoughts before we wrap up? Did you find this helpful in terms of giving you the criteria to lead a discussion with your teachers?
Scott's got his hand up, and Hans, go ahead too.
Yeah. Scott?
Go ahead, Scott.
Oh, sorry, Hans. I would just, I mean, a lot of this, I think it sounds like many of us are just kind of exploring some of these different tools. I was using Magic School, which I've never used before. And I mean, it makes things efficient, but I think for me, it's still that mental rehearsal of what I actually need to be teaching and connecting it back to the outcomes that, and I mean, I haven't been in the classroom for a long time in terms of my own teaching practice. And so I just keep coming back to, if I was a teacher and I want to do this, I still need to, in my mind, know exactly where I want this to go and what goal I'm actually aiming for with my students. And so my worry, honestly, is it just becomes a default, and that quality component becomes kind of secondary. Mm-hmm. So I love the fact that you're working on and building a tool that actually helps to guide people through that mental rehearsal and those key critical questions that are actually about good lesson design. Efficiency is great, but it needs to be efficiency that is actually aligned to what's important for kids, and that's the learning and the outcomes. So this was really good. This really just makes me have to think hard and really plan for a good thing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And no matter what tool you're using, thank you, Scott, for that. But no matter what tool you're using, these are the questions we should be asking, right? Because it is a process. You know, like, I can have chat write for me, but writing is a process that we go through, and in doing that, we're developing our own capacity. And so that's what our goal is to develop teacher capacity and give them confidence to go into their classroom prepared because they've thought through the things that they wanted. And of course, the output is not always the best, but the output is a jumping off point from your things. And at least you got customized results because you thought about what you needed, right? And so I invite you then to, reach out if you need PD for your staff, or you want to reach out to Rochelle or Dan and I. Our contact information is there. Please, keep us in mind, and thank you for your time today. I apologize, we went a little bit over, but I hope you've got a tool now that you can go away with and use it to guide the discussions in your own schools and with your own teachers. So thank you so much. And yeah, we'd love your input. So just reach out to us. We'll have a conversation.